Daniel was a farmer on the edge of the frontier colony. His small farm was not much compared to the big corporate fields, but it was his pride. He had built it with his own hands, clearing rough soil, setting up irrigation pipes, and planting seeds that had come all the way from Earth. Tomatoes, beans, carrots, and potatoes grew in neat rows. Some alien crops also sprouted, hardy ones that could survive the strange red dust of this planet. He liked the quiet life. The colony town was 20 kilometers away, far enough that nobody bothered him unless they needed fresh food. He liked to sit on his porch at night, watching the stars and thinking about Earth, even though he had never seen it. He had been born on a transport ship, raised among frontier settlers, and had chosen farming because it felt real. But lately, something was wrong. Vegetables kept disappearing. At first, Daniel thought it was small animals. The planet had little scavengers, furry things with long ears and sharp teeth. They sometimes slipped through fences. So Daniel reinforced his barriers and set up light traps. Still, the thefts continued. He noticed patterns. Carrots vanished one night, beans the next, tomatoes taken before they were ripe. It was too careful for animals. Whoever was stealing knew what food was good. Daniel grew suspicious. One evening, after finishing his work, he decided to stay awake. He cleaned his old plasma lantern, set it on low glow, and leaned his shotgun by the door. He was not planning to kill anyone, but the colonies were dangerous. Bandits sometimes roamed. Starving refugees sometimes risked stealing. The night was silent. The two moons rose slowly, casting silver light over the farm. The wind stirred the dust. Daniel waited, sipping water, eyes sharp. Hours passed. His eyelids grew heavy. He thought maybe nothing would happen. Then, he heard it. A faint rustle near the carrots. Soft footsteps. Something alive moving carefully. Daniel's heart beat faster. He grabbed his lantern and shotgun, stepping silently into the garden. The glow spread out, catching shapes of plants in the wooden fence. He heard the sound again, hands pulling roots from the ground. He lifted the lantern higher and froze. There, crouched among the rows, was not a colonist thief, nor an animal. It was an alien woman. Her body was thin, almost fragile. Her skin glimmered, pale blue under the moonlight. She wore torn cloth around her shoulders, more rags than clothes. Her long dark hair was tangled, falling across her face. In her arms she clutched several carrots, holding them tight as if they were treasures. When the light hit her, she gasped and stumbled back, eyes wide. Daniel saw her clearly now. Her eyes were large, shining silver, with vertical pupils like a cat's. Her hands were trembling. She looked terrified. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please don't hurt me." Daniel did not speak at once. He had never been this close to one of her kind. He had seen aliens in colony markets, sure, but they were usually strong traders or proud warriors. This woman looked different. Weak, starving, desperate. "Who are you?" Daniel asked carefully, holding the lantern steady. "Why are you in my garden?" The alien woman pressed the carrots against her chest. Tears welled in her silver eyes. "My children are hungry," she said. "I only wanted food. I did not mean harm." Daniel stood still, shocked. This was no bandit, no scavenger. She was a mother trying to survive. For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. The only sounds were the wind and her quick breathing. Daniel lowered his shotgun slowly. He studied her. Thin arms, hollow cheeks, trembling legs. She looked like she had not eaten properly for weeks. "Children?" he asked. "Where are they?" She shook her head quickly, fear in her face. "Please, let me go. They are waiting. They need this food." Daniel's mind raced. He knew the colony had rules. Strangers had to be reported. Aliens without papers could be taken by patrols. Sometimes they disappeared. But looking at her, he felt no threat. Only pity. She backed away, still clutching the vegetables. The lantern, light showed dirt smudges on her face, thin scars across her arms. She looked as if she had been hiding in rough places, surviving however she could. "Wait," Daniel said softly. "I won't hurt you." The woman hesitated, eyes filled with doubt. "Take the food," Daniel said, nodding at the carrots. "But don't sneak around anymore, you could have asked." Her lips trembled. "No one helps us," she whispered. "Humans. They drive us away." Daniel frowned. He had heard rumors. Crashed ships sometimes left survivors stranded. The Galactic Council rarely bothered with rescue if the species was not powerful. Colonies often treated such survivors as beggars. "Not all humans," Daniel said quietly. The woman stared at him for a long moment as if trying to read his heart. Then she bowed her head. "Thank you," she whispered. She turned quickly, running into the shadows beyond the fence. Daniel did not chase her. He only stood there, holding the lantern high, listening as her footsteps faded into the night. When silence returned, he lowered the lantern. His garden was damaged, but he did not feel angry. Instead, he felt unsettled. He could not stop seeing her face, those desperate eyes, that trembling voice. "My children are hungry." Daniel went back to his porch and sat heavily. The moons shone above, bright and cold. He thought about the colony patrols. If they found her, what would they do? If her children were starving, how long could they survive? He told himself it was not his problem. He was just a farmer. He had his own life to worry about. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The next day, Daniel worked in his fields, but his mind wandered. Every rustle of wind reminded him of that night. He kept glancing at the hills beyond his farm, wondering if she was out there, hiding with her children. That evening, when he harvested fresh beans, he set aside a basket. He left it near the fence not far from where he had seen her. He told himself it was just easier than losing crops to theft. But in truth, he hoped she would find it. The moons rose again. Daniel sat on his porch, pretending not to watch. Hours passed. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw movement. The alien woman crept forward, eyes darting nervously. She spotted the basket, gasped softly, and picked it up. For a moment, she looked toward the house, toward Daniel's shadow on the porch. She did not run this time. She only bowed her head, as if in thanks, then slipped away into the night. Daniel sat very still, heart heavy with thoughts. He did not know her story yet. He did not know what dangers would come. But he knew one thing. She would be back, and soon he would have to decide whether to truly help her or turn her away like everyone else. For now, the mystery remained. But Daniel's quiet farm life was no longer simple. Something had changed the night he caught her stealing vegetables. Something that would not let him sleep easily again. The next morning, Daniel rose early. The sun burned red through the dusty sky, warming the soil of his farm. He went about his chores as usual, watering crops and fixing fences. But his mind was not on farming. He kept thinking of the alien woman. He remembered her hollow face, her trembling voice, her words. "My children are hungry." He wanted to forget, but he couldn't. By midday, he made up his mind. He packed a sack of food, bread, beans, and some dried fruits. He put a small flask of water inside as well. Then he strapped on his boots and set off toward the hills beyond his land. The ground grew rough as he climbed. Sharp stones jutted out of the dirt. Dust rose with each step. He followed faint trails, unsure if they were made by animals or her. He walked for an hour, scanning the rocky ridges, until he noticed something unusual. A broken branch. A footprint in the dust. Small, almost delicate. Daniel crouched, touching the print. It was hers. He followed carefully, heart beating faster. The trail led him to a narrow canyon. The rocks formed high walls, cutting off the wind. At the end of the canyon, half hidden by boulders, was a dark cave. Daniel hesitated. What if she attacked him? What if others were waiting inside? Still, he tightened his grip on the sack and stepped closer. "Hello?" he called softly. "It's me, the farmer. I brought food." No answer. He stood at the entrance, eyes straining in the dim light. Slowly, shapes appeared, and then he heard it. Soft coughing, weak voices. His heart clenched. Inside the cave, the alien woman sat on the ground holding a small child in her arms. Two more children huddled beside her, their eyes wide and frightened. They were thin, ribs showing beneath pale blue skin. Their clothes were scraps. Their hair hung in tangled strands. When they saw Daniel, the children shrank back, clutching their mother. The woman gasped, alarm in her silver eyes. "You followed me," she cried, holding her children tighter. Daniel raised his hands slowly, showing the sack. "I brought food, that's all. I don't want to hurt you." The children sniffed the air. One of them whimpered, too weak to hide his hunger. The woman stared at the sack, torn between fear and need. Finally, she whispered, "Put it down." Daniel set the sack on the ground and stepped back. The children moved first, crawling toward the food. They pulled it open with shaky hands. When they saw the bread, their eyes lit up. They devoured it hungrily, stuffing pieces into their mouths. The woman watched them, tears streaming down her face. Daniel felt his chest tighten. They were starving, truly starving. He waited quietly until the children slowed, too full to continue. Then he spoke again. "My name is Daniel. I have a farm nearby. You don't need to steal anymore. I can help you." The woman wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "Why?" she asked bitterly. "Why would a human help us?" Daniel frowned. "Because you need it. Because your children deserve to live." For a long time she only looked at him as if searching for lies. Finally she sighed and lowered her gaze. "My name is Selah," she said softly. Daniel nodded. "Selah, that's a good name." He pointed at the children gently. "And them?" She touched each one's head as she spoke. "Lyra, Taven, and little Rin." The smallest child, Rin, coughed weakly, his thin body trembling. Daniel saw that. He was sick, his heart sank. "What happened?" Daniel asked. "Why are you here like this?" Selah hesitated, then began to speak in a low voice. "Our ship. It was a small freighter. We were traveling to a safer world far from the war. But the engines failed. We fell from the sky. Most of the crew died in the crash. Only a few families survived. We sent distress calls, but the council ignored us. We are not an important people. We are not strong." Her voice broke. "The others. Many are gone now. Some taken by patrols. Some starved. I kept my children hidden. But food is gone." She buried her face in her hands. "I could not watch them die. That is why I stole." Daniel felt a heavy silence settle in the cave. He understood now. She was not a thief by choice. She was a mother fighting for her children's lives. He looked at the three little ones. Lyra was maybe 10 years old, her silver eyes sharp with suspicion. Taven was younger, his thin arms clutching bread like treasure. Rin was the smallest, hardly more than a toddler, coughing weakly in Selah's arms. Daniel could not turn away. "You don't have to hide like this," he said firmly. "Come to my farm, I can feed you. You'll be safer there." Selah shook her head quickly. "No, if humans find us, they will report us. Patrols will come. They will take my children." Daniel knew she was right. The council treated stranded aliens harshly. The colony had strict rules about unregistered species. Anyone caught helping could be punished too. But looking at the children, Daniel felt his anger rise. Rules or not, they're starving kids, he thought. How can I walk away? Then I'll keep bringing food, Daniel said at last. Every day I'll bring more. Enough for all of you. Selah's lips trembled. She looked at him with wide, uncertain eyes. Why? You risk punishment. Why would you do this? Daniel thought for a moment, then answered simply, because it's the right thing to do. For the first time, Selah's expression softened. Her silver eyes glistened with gratitude. She whispered, Thank you, Daniel. That night, Daniel walked back to his farm with heavy steps. The moons were bright, the wind sharp. His mind was full of questions. Could he keep this secret? Could he keep them alive? If the colony patrols discovered him, what would happen? But he pushed those fears aside. For now, he had made a choice. The next few days became a pattern. Daniel worked his fields during the day. In the evenings, he filled a sack with vegetables, bread, and water. He carried it to the cave where Selah and her children waited. Each time, the children grew stronger. Lyra began to smile shyly. Taven laughed once, a sound that warmed Daniel's heart. Rin's coughing eased slowly as he gained strength. Selah, too, changed. Her eyes no longer looked so hollow. She began to speak more, telling Daniel stories of her people, of songs sung under silver skies, of cities built by rivers of light. Her voice carried both sorrow and pride. Daniel listened, fascinated. He had always thought aliens were distant, strange, different. But with Selah, he saw something familiar. Hope, fear, love. She was not so different after all. One evening, as Daniel prepared to leave the cave, Selah touched his arm lightly. "You are not like other humans," she said softly. "Others chase us away. But you see us." Daniel looked at her hand on his arm, then at her eyes. He felt a strange warmth rise in his chest. "I just see a mother protecting her children," he replied. Selah's lips curved into the faintest smile. As Daniel walked home under the stars, he realized something had changed. It was no longer just pity driving him. It was connection. A bond was forming. The days passed quietly, but Daniel's life was no longer the same. His farm work continued as always, watering crops, repairing fences, harvesting vegetables, but his mind was often far away. Each evening he filled a sack with food and walked to the canyon, where Selah and her 3 children waited. At first it had been awkward. The children were afraid of him, hiding behind their mother's thin frame. But Hungr had pushed them forward, and after several visits, they grew used to his presence. Lyra, the eldest, was the most cautious. She always studied Daniel with sharp, silver eyes as though judging whether he could be trusted. Taven, her younger brother, was more curious. He sometimes asked questions in a shy voice. About Daniel's farm, about the strange tools he carried, about the glowing lantern. Rin, the smallest, was still weak, but no longer coughed as much. He often reached out tiny hands for bread and smiled when Daniel gave him a piece. Selah watched her children carefully, always protective. But Daniel noticed her eyes softening more each day, her voice losing its constant edge of fear. One evening, after bringing them food, Daniel sat near the mouth of the cave while Selah hummed softly to her children. The sound was unlike anything he had heard, gentle, haunting, like wind moving through glass. "What song is that?" Daniel asked quietly. Selah looked up, almost embarrassed. "It is an old lullaby from my world. My mother sang it to me when I was small." "It's beautiful," Daniel said, her lips curved in the faintest smile. "It is meant to chase away fear, but fear does not leave so easily." Daniel understood. He had seen her fear in the first night, when she had begged for mercy in his garden. Even now, though safer with food, she never relaxed fully. She always looked toward the entrance of the cave, as if expecting soldiers to appear. Another night, Daniel brought more than food. He carried an old blanket and some medicines from his supplies. Selah accepted them with trembling hands, bowing her head in thanks. "You risk too much," she whispered. "If your people discover what you do, they will punish you." Daniel shrugged. "Then I'll hide it better." "Why?" she asked again, searching his face. "Why would a human farmer care for strangers like us?" Daniel thought for a moment. He looked at the children, now chewing happily on carrots. Then he said, "Because you're not strangers anymore." Her silver eyes shone in the dim light. She did not reply, but he saw the truth in her expression. His words mattered to her. But the colony was not blind. A week later, while Daniel was selling vegetables in town, he overheard two colonists talking at the market. "Something's out there in the hills," one said. "Tracks. Not animals, I tell you." "Refugees, maybe," the other muttered. "Crashed ship survivors. I heard some are still hiding." Daniel kept his face calm as he packed his crates, but his stomach tightened. If the colony patrol started searching, they would find Selah and her children. That night, when he reached the cave, he told Selah what he had heard. She grew pale, her hands trembling. "They will come for us," she whispered. "They always do. Humans. They fear what is different." "Not all humans," Daniel reminded her. Selah shook her head sadly. "Fear spreads faster than kindness." He could not argue. He knew how colonists thought. Strangers meant danger. Outsiders meant risk. Few would see hungry children, only possible threats. Still, Daniel refused to give up. "I'll keep you safe," he said firmly. "I won't let them take you." Selah looked at him as if she wanted to believe, but doubt lingered in her eyes. The bond between them grew stronger. Sometimes Daniel stayed longer in the evenings, talking with Selah after the children had fallen asleep. She told him stories of her homeworld, green skies and crystal rivers, vast plains where her people once sang under starlight. She spoke of traditions, of the way her people valued harmony above all. Daniel listened closely. In her words, he saw more than survival. He saw a culture crushed by misfortune yet still alive in her heart. One evening she asked about him. "You live alone, Daniel." "Why?" He hesitated. "I was raised among settlers. I never had much family. Farming felt right. I wanted something of my own, but..." He glanced at the quiet house in the distance, visible even from the canyon. "Sometimes it's lonely." Selah nodded slowly. "Loneliness is heavy. I know it well." Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither spoke. The silence was not empty. It was full of understanding. As days turned into weeks, Selah's children grew healthier. Lyra laughed once, surprising even herself. Taven ran outside the cave, chasing dust motes in the sun. Rin, though still small, climbed onto Daniel's lap one evening, clutching a piece of bread with a tiny smile. Daniel felt his chest warm. This was what it meant to help. This was why he had chosen kindness. But shadows lingered on the horizon. Rumors spread further in the colony. Traders passing through claimed they saw blue-skinned scavengers near the hills. Some colonists grew fearful. Others whispered of bounties placed by the Galactic Council for capturing unregistered aliens. One afternoon, Daniel's neighbor, Old Man Harvin, stopped by his farm. "You heard the talk?" Harvin asked, leaning on his walking stick. "They say there's trouble out there, outsiders, hungry ones, dangerous." Daniel forced a casual shrug. "Probably just animals. People see what they want to see." Harvin squinted at him. "Maybe. But you be careful, Daniel. Don't go trusting strangers. Out here, kindness gets you killed." After Harvin left, Daniel stood alone in his fields, fists clenched. He hated those words. Kindness gets you killed. Was that what the galaxy believed? Was that why Selah's distress call had been ignored? That night, when he reached the cave, Selah saw the anger in his face. "What troubles you?" she asked softly. Daniel told her about the rumors, about Harvin's warning. Selah lowered her head. "He's not wrong," she said quietly. "Kindness can be dangerous, but without kindness, what are we?" Her words struck him deep. He looked at her, seeing not just a desperate mother, but a strength hidden beneath her fear. She had lost everything, home, people, safety, yet she still believed in kindness. The bond grew even deeper. One night, Selah sang again, her voice filling the cave. This time, Daniel joined softly, humming along though he did not know the words. Selah looked at him in surprise, then smiled. For the first time she seemed almost happy, but happiness was fragile. The colony patrols began searching the hills. Daniel saw their lights in the distance one evening, sharp beams cutting through the dust. His heart pounded as he hurried to the cave. "You must be careful," he warned. "They're close." Sayla's face grew pale. She gathered her children, quickly holding them close. "Perhaps we should leave," she whispered. "We cannot endanger you." Daniel shook his head firmly. "No, if you wander, they'll find you. Here, at least, I can help." Sayla hesitated, then nodded. But Daniel saw fear in her eyes again, the same fear he had seen the first night, and for the first time he wondered if he truly could keep them safe. That night, Daniel sat long on his porch, staring at the stars. He thought of Sayla's children, their laughter, their fragile hope. He thought of Sayla's soft smile, her voice singing in the dark, and he thought of the patrol lights closer each day. The bond he had built with Sayla and her children was no longer a secret comfort. It was a fragile flame, one the wind of the galaxy could snuff out at any moment. Yet Daniel knew this. He would not let it go easily. No matter the danger, he was determined. For in that cave, among a starving alien family, he had found something he had not felt in years. Purpose. The colony had grown restless. Rumors of blue-skinned scavengers hiding in the hills reached more ears each day. Traders whispered to settlers. Children told their parents. Even distant patrols were watching, their searchlights slicing across the red dust of the frontier. Daniel sensed the danger. Each evening he carried a sack of food to Sayla and her children, always glancing at the hills as if expecting the patrols to appear at any moment. One night, as he approached the cave, he noticed movement in the distance. Shadows flickered near the ridge, human shapes moving cautiously. "They're coming," he whispered, hurrying inside. Sayla was already awake, her eyes wide as she held Rin close. Lyra and Taven clung to her sides, trembling. "Stay calm," Daniel said, setting the sack of food down quickly. "They won't get in if we don't make a mistake." Sayla shook her head. "Mistakes do not matter. Humans always report strangers. Always." Daniel knelt beside her. "Not all humans, but yes, some do. We have to be careful." The first patrol members crested the ridge moments later. Their lights swept across the canyon. One shouted, "We know someone's here. Step out or we fire." The children shrank behind Sayla, eyes wide. She hugged them tightly, whispering in their language, trying to calm them. Daniel stepped forward, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "Wait," he called. "They're not dangerous." The patrol leader, a tall man with a sharp uniform, narrowed his eyes. "Step aside, civilian. We are here on official duty." Daniel's heart pounded. "I am a civilian," he said. "But these people, this woman and her children, they are survivors, starving. They need help, not capture." The patrol leader laughed bitterly. "Survivors? The council says they are unregistered aliens. They must be taken in for processing." Sayla's silver eyes widened. She looked at Daniel, terrified. "Processing means death." Daniel felt anger rise in him. He could not stand it. Not after everything he had seen. "No," he said firmly. "You will not take them. I will not let you." The patrol leader took a step forward, hand on his weapon. "Step aside, farmer, or we fire." Daniel's fingers tightened around the sack of food. He did not raise a weapon, but he stood tall. "You will not." I said no. The tension in the canyon was thick. The wind blew dust in the patrol's eyes. The children clung to Sayla, too scared to move. Then something remarkable happened. The other colonists from nearby farms who had been watching from a distance stepped forward. One by one they emerged from the shadows. "You threaten a family?" an older woman said. "On my land, over my food?" Another man shouted. "Leave them alone. Daniel is right. They are children, not criminals." The patrol hesitated. They had expected resistance from a single farmer, not an entire group of colonists. Daniel glanced at Sayla. Her lips trembled. She was afraid, but she looked at the humans surrounding them and whispered, "Perhaps There is kindness after all. The patrol leader barked orders. Stand down. Civilian witnesses cannot interfere. Daniel stepped forward, ignoring the patrol. You will not take them. They are starving children. They deserve protection. A tense silence followed. The colonists murmured agreement, standing firmly behind Daniel. The patrol could see they were outnumbered, or at least that the humans were united. The leader cursed under his breath. Fine. You defy the council, farmer. Yes, Daniel said. I do, and I will protect them. You can report it, but we will not let you harm them. The patrol leader glared, then finally signaled his team to withdraw. They retreated to the ridge, leaving the alien family and the humans standing in the dust. Selah collapsed to her knees, tears streaming. She gathered her children close and whispered thanks. Daniel knelt beside her. It's over, for now, he said. The colonists stayed with him through the night. They helped repair the cave entrance, bringing extra blankets and supplies. Some of them were skeptical at first, but seeing Selah's children's weakened state changed their hearts. They realized these beings were not threats, they were just survivors. The next morning, the children played near the cave entrance under careful watch. Lyra laughed while chasing Taven, who carried a carrot as a trophy. Rin toddled behind, wobbling but happy. Selah's smile returned, soft and genuine. She looked at Daniel, then at the surrounding humans. Perhaps humans can be more than fear, she said quietly. Daniel nodded. We are capable of kindness. Sometimes that is more important than rules. But even as they celebrated this small victory, Daniel knew the danger was not gone. The Galactic Council rarely forgave defiance. Their patrols might return, stronger and with more weapons. And some humans in the colony were not as sympathetic. They could betray them for safety or profit. That evening, as the moons rose, Daniel and Selah talked quietly near the fire. We must prepare, Daniel said. They may come back. We cannot rely on luck. Selah nodded. I understand. I will help you. My people are not strong like humans, but we can hide and survive if we must. The children listened, half awake, sensing the tension. Daniel reached out and touched Rin's tiny hand. You will be safe, I promise. Selah smiled faintly, a mixture of hope and worry in her eyes. Days turned into weeks. Daniel organized the colony to provide small, secret supplies of food and medicine to Selah and her children. He taught them basic survival techniques for the harsh frontier, how to find water, how to recognize dangerous plants, how to move silently. The children adapted quickly. Lyra proved clever and observant, remembering everything Daniel taught her. Taven was brave, often exploring small areas near the cave under supervision. Rin remained fragile but grew stronger each day. Selah's gratitude was boundless. She tried to teach Daniel and the colonists some songs from her people. Her voice, high and melodic, filled the night. For the first time, Daniel felt a warmth that went beyond friendship, an understanding that spanned worlds. But danger never sleeps. One morning, distant lights appeared on the horizon. Daniel spotted a larger patrol moving toward the hills. They carried new weapons, vehicles designed for capture, and drones to scan for heat signatures. He ran to the cave, heart pounding. They're back, he whispered. Selah hugged the children, tightly. We cannot outrun them. They will find us. Daniel thought fast. We will not run. We will fight. Not with weapons, but with courage. The colonists will help us. The patrol cannot take them if we stand together. The aliens had never seen such determination in a human. Selah studied Daniel's face, seeing his resolve. It gave her strength. The patrol reached the canyon entrance, their light sweeping. Daniel stepped forward, flanked by the colonists who had joined him. Stop, he shouted. You will not take them. They are children. They are innocent. You will not harm them while I stand here, the patrol leader growled. Do not resist, step aside, civilian, or we open fire. Daniel's voice rose, full of authority and courage. No, You will not touch them. If you fire on every human here who refuses to let you take them." The leader paused, realizing the patrol was surrounded by colonists who were determined to protect the aliens. He cursed under his breath, then gave a frustrated signal. Slowly, the patrol backed away, their weapons lowered, the drones retreating. Sayla's children screamed with relief, rushing into her arms. Lyra hugged Daniel tightly. Taven clutched a small carrot, laughing through tears. Even Rin smiled weakly, feeling the safety of the group. Daniel exhaled slowly. The danger had passed for now. Sayla looked at him, her silver eyes shining. "You are not like other humans," she said softly. "You see us. You protect us. You are extraordinary." Daniel shook his head. "I am just doing what any human should. Protect the weak. Help those in need. That is what it means to be human." For the first time, Sayla truly smiled, a bright, genuine smile filled with relief and gratitude. Daniel knew the fight was not over. The Galactic Council would not forget this defiance. But for now, in this canyon, among the red dust and the hills, a human and an alien family had stood together and survived. The morning after the confrontation with the patrol, the canyon felt different. The air was lighter, though the red dust still clung to everything. Sayla and her children moved carefully, but they carried themselves with a newfound confidence. Daniel watched them from a distance, a quiet smile on his face. He had never imagined that a simple act of kindness, offering vegetables to a starving alien family, could lead to all of this. The patrols had come and gone. The colonists had stood with him. And now Sayla and her children were safe, at least for the moment. Daniel knew that safety on the frontier was never permanent. Danger was always waiting. Harsh weather, wild animals, and now the Galactic Council. But he also knew that for the first time, Sayla and her children had a chance. He approached the cave carefully, carrying a small basket of fresh vegetables. "Good morning," he said softly. Sayla looked up, smiling. Lyra waved shyly. Taven jumped up and down excitedly, and little Rin reached for the basket with both hands. Daniel laughed quietly. "Let's eat first," he said, setting the basket down. "Then we'll talk about the day." The children dug into the vegetables with gusto. Taven held a carrot like a sword and pretended to fight off invisible enemies, while Lyra laughed, gently tapping his hand to stop him from getting messy. Rin chewed slowly but smiled every time Daniel handed him a piece. Sayla watched her children with soft eyes. "They are strong now," she whispered. "Thanks to you." Daniel shook his head. "No. Thanks go to them. They are survivors. They fight every day just by living." Sayla's silver eyes met his. "Humans are strange," she said softly. "So many of you follow rules, yet you still know how to act with honor and kindness." Daniel smiled. "Sometimes rules are not enough. You have to do what is right, even if it is dangerous." After breakfast, Daniel helped Sayla and her children clean the cave and organize their small space. Blankets were folded, supplies counted, and a small fire pit was arranged safely. The children ran outside to play under Daniel's watchful eye, laughter echoing through the canyon. Sayla watched them and then turned to Daniel. "You have risked so much for us," she said. "Why? Your people, your humans, do not always help strangers." Most would have turned away. Daniel shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe it is part of being human. We survive together. We help each other. That is what matters. Not laws, not rules. Just doing what is right." Sayla's expression softened. She reached out and touched his arm lightly. "You are extraordinary, Daniel. Not because you are strong, but because you choose to act with your heart." Daniel felt warmth in his chest. He was not used to such praise. He had always believed that humans were capable of kindness, but he had rarely experienced it so directly. That evening, Daniel returned to his farm, thinking about what had happened. The patrols might return. The council might send more soldiers. But for now, he could rest knowing Sayla and her children were safe. He sat on his porch, staring at the stars. The moons hung low, casting silver light across the farm. He thought about the fragility of life, about how small actions could change everything. A stolen carrot had brought him to this moment. He realized that humanity was not defined by strength or technology, but by courage and compassion. Protecting the weak, feeding the hungry, standing up against injustice, these were the true measures of a human being. Days passed. The patrols did not return, at least not immediately. The colony began to see Sayla and her children differently, not as dangerous outsiders, but as survivors in need of help. Some colonists secretly provided supplies. Others offered small gestures of kindness, a warm blanket, extra water, even toys for the children. Daniel continued his nightly visits, bringing food, teaching the children, and talking with Sayla. Their bond grew stronger. He taught Lyra how to plant seeds in small pots, Taven how to catch clean water from the canyon streams, and Rin how to walk carefully along the rocky paths. Sayla watched, amazed at how patient Daniel was, how he treated the children not as burdens but as equals with potential. One night as the children slept, Sayla and Daniel sat by the fire. "You have changed our lives," she said softly. "Without you, we would not have survived the past weeks. I do not know how to thank you enough." Daniel smiled. "Seeing you all alive, happy, safe, that is thanks enough." Sayla studied him quietly. "Humans, your species is different from what I imagined. So often we hear of cruelty and greed, but you act with honor. You follow your own rules, not just the laws of the council." Daniel nodded. "Sometimes laws are not enough. You have to choose what is right, even if it is dangerous. That is what being human means." Sayla's eyes glistened. "I see it now. Humanity can be greater than anyone expects." The colony began to accept Sayla and her children more openly. People who had once feared them now helped. Children played together with Lyra, Taven, and Rin. The patrols were still a distant threat, but the community's support made it easier to face the danger. Daniel continued working his farm, teaching the children about earth crops, helping Sayla understand human farming methods, and organizing small defenses around the cave in case the patrols returned. They built small traps to alert them if anyone approached, and Daniel taught the children to move quietly and hide if needed. Through these days, Daniel learned as much from Sayla as she did from him. He learned about courage in the face of hopelessness, about hope when all seems lost, and about the power of a parent's love. Sayla, in turn, saw humanity in a new light. She saw that humans could rise above fear and prejudice, that they could protect what was right even at personal risk. One evening, as the moons rose, Daniel and Sayla sat together outside the cave, watching the children play. Lyra chased Taven in a small game while Rin toddled after them, giggling. Sayla sighed, content but thoughtful. "We are safe now thanks to you. But the galaxy, it does not forget. The council may return. We must be prepared for whatever comes next." Daniel reached out and took her hand. "We will face it together, and if we act with courage and kindness, we will survive. That is what humanity does." Sayla looked at him, eyes shining with gratitude and understanding. "Perhaps your people are stronger than we imagined, not because of weapons or power, but because of heart." Daniel smiled. "And perhaps your people are stronger than we imagined too. You survived when no one else did. You taught me as much as I taught you." They sat together in silence, listening to the wind and the quiet laughter of the children. For the first time in weeks, there was no fear, only hope. Weeks turned into months. The colony continued to thrive, and Sayla's family became part of the community. Children learned to speak both human and Sayla's language. Sayla shared songs, stories, and traditions, enriching the colony's culture. Daniel continued farming, teaching, and protecting them, but he felt a deep satisfaction in his heart. He realized that being human was more than survival. It was about courage, compassion, and the willingness to stand up for what is right, even when the world is against you. Sayla and her children flourished. Lyra became clever and strong, Taven brave and curious, and Rin healthy and playful. Sayla herself regained confidence, no longer the frightened mother hiding in the shadows. She smiled more, laughed more, and even helped Daniel teach others in the colony how to live and survive. Daniel sometimes thought back to the first night when he had caught Sayla stealing carrots. Who would have guessed that moment would lead to this, a bond that changed the lives of an alien family and the people around them? He understood something important. Sometimes even the smallest act of kindness, a carrot, a loaf of bread, a helping hand, can ripple outward, changing the world in ways no one expects.